No.
What time is it, Ben?
No, Johnny.
Say it!
I don't wanna!
Say it!
How's it going out there, YouTube land and also social media lands? Welcome to an all new video. In this video we're doing a new review of a new movie that just came out this past Friday and is a new film from Marvel Studios. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms, such as X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Patreon. Pretty much post on these regularly, so definitely check them out. As always, people, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all new video. So like I was saying before, we're doing a movie review of a new film that just came out this past Friday and is the newest film from Marvel Studios called The Fantastic Four First Steps. Yeah! The Fantastic Four First Steps. Yeah! So The Fantastic Four First Steps is a great, fun, entertaining film that, you know, surprisingly was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. I was really impressed with what they brought to it, even though it was a very short runtime for a Marvel film. And at the same time, you know, there was a lot of things going into this that just didn't seem very kosher with the film. But I do feel that it is a lot better than the film Superman was that came out last month, or this month, I should say. And, you know, I think overall the film itself was pretty entertaining, but at the same time, there were still some few things I had gripes with the film that, you know, I just think a lot of people had gripes with as well. But at the same time, I did enjoy finally getting to see Galacticus on the big screen. I loved that. I loved that we got that kind of retro 60s looking world, which was really fun and very ominous and homage to, you know, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's original Fantastic Four film, or comics, I should say. And I also think that the film itself just had a lot of great visuals that were really fun, but overall I think there was definitely, you know, a lot more they could have done with the film and made it even better. Now, of course, Fantastic Four First Steps is the first film from Marvel Studios of the Fantastic Four. Of course, you know, the last time we saw a Fantastic Four film was in 2015 from 20th Century Fox, which was a really horrible film, one of the worst put out there Fantastic Four films ever. I really enjoyed the originals from 2005 and 2007. I thought those were fantastic. I thought those were well casted. And this film definitely did not have the best casting. And just the way that they decided to go with some of the characters and kind of change them up, I just didn't care for it either. I just thought it was kind of dumb. And I don't think it really shined what these characters are from the comic books either. But I do agree that there's a lot of great little Easter eggs throughout the film that give it a lot of, you know, kind of homage to Jack Kirby and to the, you know, past comic books. Now, of course, this film is none other directed by a gentleman who goes by the name of Mr. Matt Shakeman. Oh, yeah. Matt Shakeman. Woo! Matt Shakeman. Yeah! So Matt Shakeman, who has kind of, you know, made a name for himself. He's done a lot of writing. He's done a lot of producing for films and shows. And has become a really big Marvel Studios guy. And is all around a decent, you know, creator, director, and everything like that. And I think he has a lot of great to offer as a director, and I think he did a pretty decent job with the film. I do think that there's a lot that they edited out, and I don't think that was a great and smart thing to do. But at the same time, I think that Matt Shakeman, you know, trying to keep it very WandaVision-like, you know, is definitely what I felt this film ended up feeling like. It definitely felt like it was just a longer version of, you know, a WandaVision episode, and I definitely had the feeling through the whole film like I was watching WandaVision itself. and it was just kind of an extension of WandaVision, which I was really surprised because, I felt that they would want to really make it differentiate from WandaVision, but really it just felt like it was a part of the WandaVision universe, which it is. It's in the MCU and everything, but at the same time, it's like it just felt too much like a TV show versus an actual full-length film. But I think Matt Shakman had a good eye for bringing in some decent things to it. I think he had some great action that when they did have action in the film, I think he did a great job with Galacticus and how he made him look and how he made him appear and how he had him fight and stuff like that. But of course, I think that there's a lot of things that he could have done. We could have gotten more Galacticus. We could have seen him fight and use his powers more. We could have seen, Reed Richards do more. We could have seen more of, the Human Torch and the Thing actually doing things and stuff like that. And it was very brief. All these characters have so many great powers that they didn't really get to shine in the film. And I just think that Matt Shakman didn't, unfortunately didn't really try to achieve that and try to push that into the film. And made it more about them giving birth to Franklin Richards and all this kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I felt that, Matt could have done something way better with the film and made it more entertaining and more fun. Because it definitely did, even though with a short runtime, it still kind of dragged a little bit. And kind of had some moments that were like, I could have totally done without this sequence. Or I could have done without that portion. And, definitely they tried to go back to kind of that, with the nuclear family thing I think Matt Shakman tried to do. Which was very, reminiscent of WandaVision, I felt. And I just think that there was so much more Matt could have done with the film. Overall, I think that he did an okay job. It wasn't the best job, but I think he still had a lot that he could have done with the film. Now, if you haven't seen anything else Matt Shakman has done, definitely check out, of course, his wonderful TV series that was pretty decent, that was on Disney Plus back in 2021, called WandaVision. Yeah! WandaVision. Yeah! So WandaVision, of course, was the Marvel Plus TV series, the very first one in 2021, starring Wanda Maximoff, of course, and introducing us to, the great Agatha Harkness, and then, of course, also introducing us to more of Vision and getting to know the Vision and Wanda's kids and stuff like that. And, of course, I think Matt Shakman did a great job with that. I think he made a really great TV show. I think he had a really great story. And I think that he did really well with, basically, bringing on and evolving Wanda's story and Vision's story and everything like that to, an interesting point into the MCU, which led to Multiverse of Madness. And I think that overall Matt did a really great job with that series and gave us some really great action in that and some really great mystery and great storytelling. If you haven't seen anything Matt Shakman has done, directed or written or was a creator of, definitely check out WandaVision for his performance as a director. He did a pretty decent job. But overall, I think that he did an okay job with Fantastic Four First Steps. I think he could have done so much more. And overall, I think just it was kind of a, middle of the pack directing, achievement for this film. If you haven't seen anything Matt Shakman has done, go check out his directing in Fantastic Four Final Steps. He did an okay job. So this movie has a very big ensemble cast, lots of people in this film, and, unfortunately I think that some of the casting I didn't agree with. I don't think that they really got the right casting for certain characters, but overall I think a lot of them did an okay job or pretty decent. Of course, I think, I've made this very evident in several of my MCU Bleeding Edge reviews and stuff like that, and also just, in certain things I've talked about on my mini reviews and stuff like that I thought Pedro Pascal definitely was the worst choice for Reed Richards. He does not exude Reed Richards at all, and even when he was doing his smart thing, he sounded like a retard. I'm sorry, but he just did not play Reed Richards. And, I have seen Pedro Pascal in several other things that I thought he was pretty decent in. I thought he did a good job, like Kingsman, The Secret Service, The Golden Circle. He also was in the Nicolas Cage film that came out a couple years ago. And I think that, he has some great acting chops. But this film just was not his cup of tea for playing Reed Richards. He just basically sounded like a whiny bitch the whole film, and it was just too bad because it could have been so much better if they had gotten somebody that was more Reed Richards. And I just think that was really bad casting. So I just have to throw that out there. But I think a lot of the rest of the cast did an okay job. I think, Vanessa Kirby did a decent job. I think Joseph Quinn did a decent job. I think Eben Moss Baccarat did an okay job. But still, I think all of them, they just tried to do their characters so different than the previous iterations. It just fell short for me. And I didn't like those iterations as much as I did the previous iterations. And I think, for what they were okay, pretty decent, and weren't horrible, but still lacked a lot of fun that the other, I think, people brought to these characters. And of course, we had, kind of these small little parts by other people throughout the film that were very interesting and different, and I think they all worked well and, gave us some entertaining value. Now, to start us off with this cast that I like to talk about, of course, is Sue Storm herself, Miss Vanessa Kirby. Oh, yeah, Vanessa Kirby. Woo, Vanessa Kirby, yeah! So, Vanessa Kirby, who you might recognize from a slew of things over the years, she was just recently in Napoleon, about Napoleon Bonaparte that Joaquin Phoenix starred in. She's been in several movies, several TV shows over the years, and so forth and stuff like that, and she has become a rising star. I've enjoyed watching her. I think she does a decent job, and I think that overall she does a really good job in any film I've seen her in. And I think overall she's not, horrible, but at the same time I think that she really, kind of looked like Sue, but I don't feel she was exactly Sue Storm how I pictured her in the comics. Because I feel in the comics, Sue Storm is way more, even though she's considered one of the most powerful, of the Fantastic Four, she still had a great head on her. She wasn't, over the top. She wasn't, she kept her ego in check and all that kind of stuff in the comics. And I feel that she led very well in the comics, along with the assistance of the rest of the Fantastic Four. And I just felt like they made Vanessa Kirby play the character like she was a girl boss. And that just did not fit right, I felt, for the character. And at the same time, it's just kind of like, why are you have her kind of be the head? Like, why is she the head? She's not the smartest of the bunch. She happens to be the most powerful, but at the same time, like, why is she the head honcho? Why isn't it a team effort? They're called the Fantastic Four. They're not called the Invisible Woman and the other three people. So, I kind of hate when they do that and make somebody a lead when all of them should be leading together, and that's what the Fantastic Four is about. And I feel like that was something that, unfortunately, Vanessa Kirby, really tried to exude too much, and I don't think that she was written as well as she could have been. And I'm not saying that it's her fault that she had to act that way, but at the same time, I think she took some liberties in with the acting and just went a little too overboard and just could have been better. But overall, she wasn't horrible. She wasn't the worst. She definitely was very still entertaining and enjoyable, but at the same time, I didn't care too much for where they took the character and how she had to act in it. But overall, Vanessa Kirby is a decent actress, like I said, and definitely a film you should check out of hers that I think she's really phenomenal in. She does a great job. It's a great film that came out a couple years ago called Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah! Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah! She was absolutely fantastic in this film. She plays Jason Statham's sister, which is really awesome, and she absolutely kicks butt in that film. Her action sequence was amazing, her dialogue, her story, and everything was awesome, and I loved her, camaraderie with the different guys, with, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and with Jason Statham, and, with Helen Mirren and everyone in the film, and she just worked well off of that. It really shined in the film, it really kicked butt, and just really played the character very well, which is what I feel it was a lot more even-tempered and even-coded, like how she could have been in Fantastic Four. and I just really enjoyed everything she brought to the character in that film, and she just really was entertaining, fun, and a great addition to that family and to that film. If you haven't seen Vanessa Kirby, definitely check out in Hobbs and Shaw. She was really phenomenal in that. But overall, I think she was okay in this film. She did a decent job, and overall, she wasn't horrible, but I did enjoy her to an extent. Overall, Vanessa Kirby was pretty decent in this film. If you haven't seen Vanessa Kirby in anything recently, check her out in Fantastic Four First Steps. She was okay. So that brings me to the next person I'd like to talk about that was in this film, and that is none other than Human Torch himself, Mr. Joseph Quinn! Oh yeah, Joseph Quinn! Woo, Joseph Quinn! Yeah! So Joseph Quinn, who you might recognize from a few things over the years now, has really become a big staple over the last like 4 or 5 years, and is a pretty decent actor. He's enjoyable, he does a great job, and I think that he has a lot of great talent. So Joseph Quinn, Human Torch, could have been so much better, could have been a lot more entertaining, more fun, could have been more like the comics, but yet they did that pretty much with this whole film. Unfortunately, they made him really kind of just dumb and didn't make him like they could have. They tried to go too PC with him, and that's just too bad because there's so much to that character that's so much fun, just like Daredevil or just like Deadpool himself, you know, where he's a very smart ass talking kind of person, and it's too bad that they decided to go the certain route they decided to go with, you know, unfortunately with this Human Torch. Just kind of like the same thing that happened with the Thing. You know, they made him very, you know, kind of retarded too as well, which was too bad. Because the Thing is supposed to be a really awesome creature, an awesome dude. He's supposed to be, you know, powerful and be going head to head with the Hulk and all this kind of stuff. And they didn't make him like that. And the one thing I just didn't like too was that the voice that they decided to go with him, they didn't make him sound like you know, like the Thing, which was too bad because I think that would have made the character even more enjoyable and would have been a great accompaniment to the Human Torch and how their relationship was, because that was definitely something they tried to play in the film and they didn't really play it out that well, and it just made it seem like they were a bickering married couple basically that was like very, you know, like I said, secret woke. And it's just too bad because there's so much more they could have done with that character and, you know, make it even more interesting, appealing, that would have made the Human Torch look even better. And I just think that, you know, unfortunately Joseph Quinn got played dirty and could have played the character so much better because he's such a great actor that I really enjoy, and he's been amazing in a lot of other things. Now, if you haven't seen Joseph Quinn in anything, definitely a great film to check him out, and it's a great film that came out the end of last year called Gladiator 2. Yeah, Gladiator 2. Yeah, I absolutely loved him as the Emperor, you know, in this film. I think he was fantastic as the twin Emperor. He played the character so well. I love that he played it like he was the more smarter version, that he had a more level head, and whereas it was very different than his other brother, who was definitely suffering from like syphilis and stuff like that, and that you could definitely tell they played it out where he was the more, like, he looked at things and go, maybe we shouldn't do that, even though he still was very pro, I'm Emperor, you do what I tell you type of deal. And Joseph did such a great job with that and just made the character so entertaining and so fun and just really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed what he brought to that character and just gave us this really fantastic performance that, you know, really sucks about his demise in the film, and it's too bad because he was such a great character. If you haven't seen the great Joseph Quinn anything, definitely check him out in Gladiator 2. He was really phenomenal. But overall, I think that he was very mediocre, very, you know, bland in Fantastic Four. Could have done so much more with the character. But overall, he still was okay, entertaining, and had some great one-liners throughout the film. If you haven't seen Joseph Quinn in anything, definitely check him out in Fantastic Four First Steps. He did an okay job. So that brings me to the final actor I'd like to talk about that was in this film. The MVP of the film, I feel, the awesome, amazing guy himself, Mr. Paul Walter Hauser. Oh yeah, Paul Walter Hauser. Woo! Absolutely love Paul Walter Hauser. He's been fantastic in everything I've seen him in. He was in that Richard Jewell film. He's been in several things over the years. He's just a phenomenal comedian, and he's so awesome. And I absolutely loved him in this as Mole Man. He was so great. I definitely feel he was the MVP. He was so entertaining, and even though his role was super small and short, it still was so powerful and so good that it made the film even better. And his version of Mole Man was on point and just amazing. And I'm so glad they decided not to cut out his portion like they did Red Ghost, John Malkovich's character. And he was so good as his character. And he had some great back and forth with Vanessa Kirby in the film, and just his whole performance was on point and so much fun. And I felt that his character was very reminiscent of his character in the comics too as well. That worked really well. And Paul Walter Hauser is such a great comedian, but he really shines in everything he does, and he can do all types of different things. Now, if you haven't seen Paul Walter Hauser, I think definitely a great TV show to check him out in. It's a great TV show that just ended beginning of this year called Cobra Kai. Yeah, Cobra Kai. Yeah, he was so good in that show. Absolutely loved him as Stingray, and I love that he was able to show his comedic chops in that, but also he could do really serious too when he need to. And I think it really shined at how good he is as an actor, and that he can do different types of genres, and that he has a really great talent about him, and that it comes very naturally. And that's what I loved about him in Cobra Kai, is it felt so natural, and it felt like it was just him playing himself. And he just really rocked it as Stingray, and he was just so good in that and really shined. And I think it really showed how great of an acting talent he is. If you haven't seen Paul Walter Hauser or anything, definitely check him out in Cobra Kai. He was amazing as Stingray. But overall, he was the MVP and the best part of Fantastic Four First Steps. I loved his version of Mole Man. He was so awesome and amazing, and he just was absolutely phenomenal in the show and film. If you haven't seen Paul Walter Hauser or anything, definitely check him out in Fantastic Four First Steps. He was absolutely phenomenal. So what is Fantastic Four First Steps about? Basically, the premise of the story is the Fantastic Four has been established for 4 years, and after they've been established for 4 years, all of a sudden they find out that their Earth has been basically been chosen to be Galactus's next devouring. And they're basically told by the female Silver Surfer, Bella Shaw. And so we end up finding out, basically that, they can spare the Earth if the Reeds give Galactus their kid, who he thinks that basically he can use to basically replace himself to get him out of having to devour worlds. And basically the movie is about the Fantastic Four figuring out how to stop Galactus, how to save their son, and save the whole world in the time being too as well. And basically being a family. Could have been so much better, had so much potential, but still very entertaining and, decent. Great visual effects. Galactus, like I said, once again, was so amazing and awesome. Absolutely loved Galactus. I thought he was a perfect Galactus. He looked it, he played the part, and he was just really phenomenal. But overall, I think that there was just so much more they could have done with this film and been more comic book accurate. I do have to give them credit for the Easter eggs that are, playing towards the comic books in the film that were done well. And overall, I think that they just had so much more and more potential. Could have made this a way better film. And just still, I think that, unfortunately, they still had to interject things in it that they didn't need to. If you haven't seen the Fantastic Four First Steps, go check it out in theaters now. See it for yourself. I give it 5 golden movie boxes up. Definitely will add it to collection because I still think it was entertaining and fun. But overall, I think it just could have been so much better. If you haven't seen it, wait for the end credits. There are 2 post-credit scenes. I will not tell you what they are. You can see for yourself. And if you haven't seen that, if you have seen it, you have seen the post-credit scenes. So hopefully you enjoyed them because I thought they were pretty lackluster. Other than that, definitely go check it out in theaters now. Worth the watch. Definitely worth at least 1 viewing in theaters. But at the same time, an okay, decent film. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out now in theaters. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, also thank you for subscribing. If this is your first time here, or you have been before, don't forget to check any other new videos you haven't seen mine yet. As always, people, a huge shout out to my subscribers, new and old. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. But if you really want to help support the channel out more, please check out my awesome Patreon page, where you get all kinds of extra control once you become a member. You get outtakes, bloopers, all that kind of cool stuff. Just to do what I do next and all that kind of stuff. So please check that out. Help support the channel. As always, catch you next one.